What's up guys, it's Andy and I am making a follow-up vlog to Elliot's surgery that he had for his suspensory, and there's a lot to go over. It's been really hard to coordinate videoing, especially because I can't bring you a lot of new content because he's limited to hand walking and he's been a lot more difficult to handle post-surgery than he was prior to surgery, and I just haven't been able to vlog. So this is the culmination of the first 2 months, everything that's happened, and then I'm filming tonight. Today's Tuesday. Tomorrow, Wednesday, is his first post-surgery ultrasound, and I'm really nervous about it, and I have a lot of feelings and things I want to discuss, so let's just get right into it. So I don't want to talk too long, so the first thing I'll briefly touch on is Elliot came home. That's where the last video ended. He actually got really sick. So he, the entire next day, would not eat, would not drink. We really thought he was colicking. He was, I don't know how to describe it. He was just lethargic. And I called the emergency vet and they said to just wait it out until the following morning. Of course, it was a Friday, so I would be going into on-call hours for the weekend, which is more expensive. But luckily, it ended up just being a little bit of gas colic, which can happen, I guess, with anesthesia sometimes. And by Friday night around 9 o'clock, he was back to eating after having not ate for 24 hours. So I was really glad that that went well. Month 1 was uneventful. He had to stay in a stall for 3 solid weeks, I think we did. His medical bandage stayed on for 4 days or 5 days. It stayed pretty clean. And then he had to be in standing wraps every day, all day for the following 3 weeks. After the standing wraps were done is when we started to introduce some outside time, and when his issues actually started. So we'll kind of get into that. So month 1 was just 5 minutes hand walking a day, and the majority of that month was spent in a stall. He did not need to be sedated for most of it because it was hot, it was buggy, and he was super content staying in his stall with a fan. And so we had no issues. He walked really nice, just walked him in a halter, 5 minutes, easy peasy, 1 lap each direction, and then put him back in the stall. And so that was pretty good. And post-surgery, with a bit of cribbing gel, he wasn't cribbing at all. So I was really hopeful that meant that he was feeling better. And then the start of month 2 came. So we'll talk a little bit about how our experience changed and the expectations that I wasn't quite ready for. So month 2 was just a disaster. I'm at the end of month 2 right now. Our follow-up visit tomorrow is the end of month 2, to the date, surgery day. And oh my gosh, it started out of the blue one day. We increased his walking up to 10 minutes and we would walk, and I think it was actually our last 5-minute walk before we increased to 10 minutes, just walking, and then blow up, rearing, bucking, just out of the blue. He's never, under saddle or on the ground, done anything like that. And I would be mistaken if I don't think it scared me, but it really caught me off guard because that is so not like him. Gideon, sure. Nothing Gideon did scared me ever because it was Gideon and it was expected. This was unexpected and it really made me uncomfortable, I think. I think it really threw my trust out the window, but I got comfortable with it. So he would pull away from me or rear up, and I'd stand there holding the rope as he's going up, and I'm looking at him like, why? Why are we doing this? And I just was having a really hard time because he was so well behaved in his stall. I was having a very hard time getting everyone on the same page about sedation. So without getting too much into the details, my barn owner and I are really on the same page with a lot of things about horses and their care and everything. And we both have a bit of an emphasis on, we don't just want Elliot drugged out of his mind because he still needs to eat, he still needs to drink, he still needs to function and be aware of his surroundings, or that could lead to a bigger spook. And you're not taking away the spooking, the edginess, you are taking away the physical ability to act out what's going on in the mind. That being said, there was a heavy emphasis on my end that he needs to be safe for me and for others and for himself, and he needs to be able to do his rehab without re-injuring himself. So, the blow-ups were happening here and there with me, and he was not doing it for the staff, and I wholeheartedly believe it is because he was telling me, listen to me, I'm having feelings, I don't know how to act, I'm showing you what's going to happen if we don't do something. So I had a really bad night. I was just hand walking him in a halter and lead rope, and We were 8 minutes into our 10-minute walk, and he just lost it. He was rearing and bucking, and he bolted, and I just could not hold on. So I had to make a safety choice to decide to let go. And I didn't have gloves on, I didn't have my helmet on, and so I let him go. And 1 month post-surgery, he basically did exactly what got him injured, or what we think got him injured in the first place, running around, galloping and deep footing like a lunatic. So it was probably the longest 3 minutes of my life. I'm trying to get him to calm down. He's running around, the lead rope's flapping between his front legs, he's stepping on it, he's hurting his head, he's catching himself, and all I can do is close the arena door and just stand there and wait. But while this is happening, and while I'm trying to get him under control, he's striking out at me with front and back legs. He almost took my head off. That scared the hell out of me. I didn't have my helmet on. That was such a mistake. But he hadn't done anything like this before. So he's running and galloping and panting, and he's so upset. And he just looked at me with frustration and anger. And I don't think it was at me, but it's like, why aren't you understanding? And him not understanding why he's not allowed to run, not allowed to play, not allowed to see other horses. And it's really taking a mental toll. But at the end of the day, it was dangerous. He was aggressive and angry and dangerous, and probably did more damage to his leg. So that was the day that I kind of drew the line. I said, he almost kicked me in the head. He almost killed me. I'm done. He needs to be sedated. I don't care what he's like during the day. He's not the same at night. He's not the same after night grain. And that is just always how it's been. Since we've moved to this barn, he loves the attention he gets during the day. He's quiet. When he was in turnout, he was playful but manageable, no issues. But after PM feed, once he eats and naps, he's just, don't disturb him. Unfortunately, I work a job, so I don't have a choice. I have to disturb him. And he's just always been different at night. So they hadn't seen this yet, and they couldn't believe this. And they had to go back and watch the arena footage to see that I was telling the truth. And for a while, it felt like I was having to almost prove that I wasn't causing the explosions, which I can understand when you're one person during a certain time of day and you're working with a horse and there's no issues and he's sweet and he's loving and that's great. And then someone else says, oh, he tried to kill me. Like, yes, of course, that seems out of the realm of possibility. But then you see it on camera and it's like, we're just walking and now he's trying to kill me. Like, he just blew up. He just could not take it anymore. Luckily, within that week, he blew up with one of the staff, which was just a ticking time bomb waiting to happen. At that point, everybody got on board with sedation. It also helped that lined up with us starting to turn him out during the day, with the caveats of it has to be low wind, there can't be an incoming storm because he freaks out when there's an incoming storm. It can't be raining or storming. There can't be like the lawnmower guy or delivery trucks or the farrier. If there's like appointments that day, he stays inside because he gets too worked up with all the horses moving. And we're really trying to just like keep him calm. Now he's on trazodone. They said 8 to 16 tablets up to 3 times a day as needed. I'm getting some conflicting feedback about, well, it's meant to be consistent long-term use and then you have to wean off, but we can't even get him at a dose high enough that would require weaning off. He's on the 300 milligram tablets, and if you give him 10 tablets, he's basically comatose. Like, he won't eat or drink. So we'll never get to that 15 tablet dose without severe repercussions, because if he doesn't eat and drink, he's going to colic. But that also being said, doses ranging as low as 4 on a good day up to 10 on a bad day, or split dosing. I'll always get 5 to 8 tablets in the evening for an evening walk because they only last 8 hours. And it's just like, it works until it doesn't. So he's quiet and walking great and sedate, even hanging, my old man, he's hanging, very calm until just the smallest thing can catch his attention. And it's like he's had no sedative at all. It's so bizarre. And I am discussing with the vet tomorrow options of something that's a little bit more reliable for sedation. It's not even that the trazodone isn't consistent, but he can break through it. And that is a problem. And that is how he's still had some issues. Now, I don't think he's had any in-hand issues for about 2 weeks now, but sometimes our 10-minute walk gets cut short because knowing how bad he can blow up now, I have to decide, is it better for me to cut it off at 8 minutes and take him back to his stall and he doesn't get the full rehab walk and his back muscles are getting really stiff and his croup is really stiff and he's really sore to palpation, or push that extra 2 minutes and risk explosion, right? Like, it's an easy answer. We're going to cut it short. And I have done that a couple times. He's getting 6 days of walking right now. I did back it down once we moved up to 10 minutes, and I anticipate we will back down a little bit as we move into 15 minutes as well. I did reintroduce long lining, which had 1 blow up, but it was a lot easier for me to control in the long lines, being physically away from his space. And honestly, I just haven't done it in a while because I'm just getting a little bit burnt out, which is something I want to talk about quickly too. So that's where we're at now. Like we've had these major explosions. We've finally gotten people on board with sedation. Now we're thinking that it's not the right sedation. And his first appointment with one major blow up and a handful of small blow ups on the record within the last 2 months since surgery. And I'm just really nervous to see what's going to happen tomorrow. I know I said I wouldn't talk a lot, and here we are talking a lot, but that's what happens when you don't film for 2 months. So, like I said, I haven't really been able to film because I've honestly just been going straight out after work. I bring my boots, I go in my scrubs, I bring a sweatshirt, and I will literally have the staff sedate him at 4. I get there at like 5:15, 5:30, throw a halter on him, walk him for 10 minutes, put him back in the stall, groom him, and call it a day. And I just haven't found the motivation to film, to bring my gear. My husband hasn't really been too involved. He was there one night when there was a blow up in the long lines and Elliot got himself wrapped up or started to. And it's just been hard to coordinate getting video out there. And I've just been so unmotivated. It's hard to talk about, but I feel like it's so real that we like need to talk about it. I've been thinking a lot lately about like what my financial limits are if we don't have improvement, or if we don't have the improvement we should by this point as of tomorrow. Like, do we keep going? Do we put him down? Like, I am emotionally and financially strained. I have a good job. This is not me bragging by any means. I have a 6-figure job. I work 40 hours a week, and I haven't been able to save anything since January, like for my savings account. I've been taking from my savings account every month. It is October. And we're probably at the $10,000 mark since February, if not more. I think there are a couple of chiropractic bills and things that I haven't added in there. And I'm not going to lie, like some days, most days, if I'm being honest, I don't want to do this anymore. And I feel shitty for saying that. I am hoping for a good outcome tomorrow, but I'm also prepared for a bad outcome because I have to remember there's something going on up in the head. Elliot's got a huge bump when we roached his mane. He's got a huge calcified bump on his skull. And I wonder if that has extra bone growth into the bursa sac in the neck, or if that's affecting nerves in his head. He's been really weird with his ears and his neck, and weird to pressure and weird to cross ties, and just weird up there in general. I actually think I'm going to have x-rays done, and I'm going to potentially have a dental professional look at those x-rays because they are actually more qualified to look at head and upper neck. So that's on the docket. But he also has the lumbar fusion, or whatever's going on with the transverse processes on his lumbar 4-5. And there's a lot of soreness and pain there, and we haven't been able to tell if it's from the compensation of the leg being injured, that they're compensating lower back, which is common. He's also not in work. He's not exercising. He's spending a lot of time in the stall. He stall walks always clockwise, which is that right hind being on the inside. So that's the tightest turn. So that's also tight there. But there's a very real chance that we could heal this leg 100% and none of that soreness goes away. Something else is wrong. I some days really wonder, like, we've always given Elliot credit for being smart and adaptive, and you can really push boundaries and really ask him for certain things, and you can't anymore. And I'm wondering, neurologically, something has shifted. I also think the cribbing hasn't helped. The cribbing has not gone away, unfortunately, post-surgery. I was really hoping it was related to pain and that the relief of that pain by opening that fascia was going to stop the cribbing, but also he is still in pain because he's having a pain response to palpation. So I'm tired. I'm so tired. I'm tired of walking. I am tired of walking in sand and not knowing if my horse is going to try to kill me. And even some days I'll groom him in his stall because he's been having such issues with the cross ties and the head pressure and he's so unhappy. So I'll groom him in his stall so he can eat, because the chewing and the swallowing, releasing endorphins and dopamine while that's happening, makes it a better experience for him. But sometimes he just walks away from me. He doesn't want anything to do with me. And I'm like, and I'd be lying if I hadn't thought about selling him to someone who wants a rehab project, but I think that's morally and ethically irresponsible because you don't know what could happen to them. It's one thing if he heals completely and we don't jive anymore and I can sell him to someone with the knowledge of his history, but I don't think I can do anything with him right now injured. And if nothing is going to take his daily pain away, then I don't think that's fair to keep him alive either. I kind of briefly brought up euthanasia. I've talked about euthanasia with both vets, and I have talked with the barn owner about it and just other people, and everyone's just thinking like, oh, just retire him out to pasture. With an injury that's never going to heal, like if it's not healing, it isn't going to heal out in the pasture where he's running around being an idiot. And he's just like Gideon, he's 7. So I don't know what it is about my luck with 7-year-old horses, but it's shit. It's absolute garbage. And I'm really worried, unlike public perception, because sometimes you have to make a decision for the welfare of a horse based on things and circumstances that aren't about the horse. So the money, the time, the emotional exhaustion. I don't know. I'm really, really torn about what to do. And I am so far in the hole financially. It's like, well, you're already in the hole, you might as well keep going. Or is it, no, you're so far in the hole, you need to stop. I thought about what would happen if I don't have Elliot anymore. Whether that be he heals and I rehome him, or if he gets put down. Our relationship has significant issues. I think there's going to be a lot of trauma when it comes back to being under saddle for him and for me. And we have a really amazing trainer at our barn that comes to visit that we have access to, except I don't really have access because all of the slots have filled up very quickly for the days that she's there. And unlike most of the people at my barn, I work a 9 to 5. So I'm not available for a 12 o'clock lesson or a 2 o'clock lesson. And I understand, like, trainers got kids, wants to be home, 100% understand. You also can't work 7 days a week. So there's just not a lot of options for us. And I feel like that's the only hope I would have in rebuilding our mental relationship. So I've looked at other horses. I can't afford both. So Elliot would have to find a different situation one way or another for me to look at another horse. I would have like no budget for another horse because just like Gideon, I have sunk all my money into trying to make this work. And I just wondered if it's worth it. There's a lesson barn a minute down the street from where I'm currently boarding, and you have to have like a contract. You're obligated to pay in advance. 1 month, you have a lesson every week. And that just actually sounds really nice to me. That sounds really great. Anything to ride at this point, because I haven't ridden since I had one lesson somewhere in like June, and then I got ghosted by the trainer who actually wasn't there for the lesson. So I basically paid to ride a horse. And that brought me so much joy that I think it almost ruined the illusion for me that I can do this, because it made me realize how sad I am. And it's just been very emotionally taxing. But I also don't want to get out of it and just go to lessons, because I have found the perfect barn with the nicest people, the best staff. I'm so happy. And I just feel, on one hand, I want to find a horse that just fits with me and the environment I'm in and my happiness. And I don't know. There's so many things and so many potential outcomes going through my head that it's a lot. It's a lot. It's very emotional. And now that I have officially talked your ear off for probably 20 to 25 minutes, I think I'm going to cut it there. I think I've kind of touched on everything that I wanted to touch on, and we will vlog style tomorrow and get some shots from the appointment. And if I can film any of the appointment, I will do that. And we're just going to see how it goes. So, fingers crossed, I'll be back after the visit tomorrow. Okay, so today is Wednesday. It is the moment of truth. I have to go to work, and then I'm leaving work to be at the appointment, and I have to go back to work, and I hate that because I've cried after the last 2 appointments dealing with this injury, and the idea of having to go back to work and just pretend like everything's fine for another 6 hours until I get to go home is really stressful. And I don't know, I'm feeling it's gonna be a day. It's gonna be a day. All right, I've left work and we are on our way to the barn, and my heart is like in my butthole. I'm really nervous about how this is gonna go, so let's see. Don't kill it. Boop. We're waiting. You're waiting so good. So good. You're a good waiter. He's healed. almost 100%. I'm a little bit in shock, I'm not gonna lie. Great news. Like I said, I wouldn't be honest if I wouldn't say I'm torn because I'm really tired of being in this situation that I'm in. Ecstatic with his scan. I tried to film until the vet ended up having me trotting him in hand with worn off sedation. That was interesting because I was going to film his trot up, and then if I had the opportunity was going to film the discussion of the ultrasound. Unfortunately, the vet tech was just kind of here, there, and never anywhere in particularly helpful spacing. So I didn't get to film the trot up because I was running the trot up, and I didn't get to film the discussion with the vet with the ultrasound because I was holding the horse, and we did end up having to sedate him because he was getting fussy. So he was like full on sedated. So I'm like physically holding his head while I'm trying to like see and hear on what she's saying about the scans. So for what he did trot, which was half the arena, there and back 4 times, silly, obviously he wants to play, tossing his head, and then he kept tripping in the same spot because he wasn't picking up his feet. So between the 4 trips, she got a pretty good idea of how he was moving. And she said he looked good, other than coming up short on that leg when he would trip, but all of his feet are uncoordinated at that point. So impressed. So that was good. I was like, all right, well, let's see what the scans show. And she was scanning for quite some time, and I happened to remember off the top of my head that initially on his first scan in April, his left uninjured leg, the circumference surface area of the ligament, the suspensory ligament in the left leg, uninjured again, was 1.3. And that was just to compare to the circumference of the one on the injured leg, the right leg, because larger circumference, larger surface area indicates swelling, damage, whatever. So the first ultrasound circumference was 1.72 or 73. After 4.5 months of rehab without surgery, it had only decreased to 1.64, so not even 0.1 of a change with Renova, with time off, all the things, with him behaving. So post-surgery, his suspensory circumference, depending on the angle and where she was scanning, is between 1.3 and 1.4, which might be as good as it ever gets. She was showing me on the scans, she did scan the left again, and on the scans, the bones, you can see airspace in the left, which isn't injured, before the ligaments and tendons begin. And then in the right, the ligaments and tendons are pretty much close right up to the bone, not as much airspace. And that's expected. And it may never go back 100% normal because we don't know if the chronicness of this, if he did have a potential injury before, when a suspensory ligament is injured, it heals and the fibers aren't as flexible and they're thicker. There's a thickness to them. So his legs may never be exactly the same, but they'll be close and similar. And both scans looked really good as far as like the fibers in the leg. They were wonderful. I was just so happy to hear that him breaking free did not ruin the leg and cause us to have to consider starting all over. I'm happy that this means that he's getting a proper amount of stall time and turnout time with his, for his brain. We did discuss we're going to switch him to acepromazine because trazodone is more intended to be used consistently so that it builds up and has an effect, and the way we're using it is more as needed. Sometimes in the morning he gets 4. Sometimes he doesn't go outside, so he gets no sedation because he just stays inside and does, boredom buster things. Sometimes he's sedated twice a day with trazodone because I come out in the evening and his morning sedation from turnout has wore off. So works similarly, dosed a little bit differently, and I went with the oral tablets because I think he'll have an issue if I'm poking him all the time doing intramuscular. So we're going to go with tablets. So I'm waiting for that to come in. We're going to keep using the trazodone until the ACE comes in. And he's been okayed to move up to his 15-minute walking. He has been approved to do ground poles and to do like weaving of cones, so like smaller serpentines, not just big serpentines. And she wants to see him on the lunge line at the trot in 30 days. And I'm so excited. He was really good, all things considered. And I'm just like nervous because like now we're through like the worst of it physically, but now we're back to like the mental part, which is like throwing me because now the concern is like safely getting him back under saddle and back into work after, if he's cleared in 30 days, we can start under saddle, which is crazy. She thinks total recovery time left 3 to 4 months if everything keeps the way it is. And there is no guarantee that the leg is going to heal more than it is healed right now, but she's impressed with what it looks like. And unless he does something damning to it, it's going to be good. Like, this is good. This is really good. This is super good. The bad part is that he is still head sensitive. He was still palpating sore on both sides. And I couldn't get a straight answer about if this is unrelated or related to the leg. And the answer I'm kind of getting is like, we're not going to know until he's back in work. So he needs to at least be lunging consistently and back into work like maybe 3 to 4 days a week before we can truly say, okay, the leg is better. You know, we can't make an assessment until he's fully healed, back on turnout, and back in work. Because if all of those things have happened and he's still sensitive, then something else is wrong. And that is really frustrating. I don't know what the options are because we're just not there yet. So I don't know if we can do injections in his lumbar spine. I don't know if that will help with a fusion. I don't know if he can be on muscle relaxants. I don't know yet. There's a lot of unknowns with this lower back pain that he's having. And we're not going to find anything else out for the time being. So she said she was really going on about his diet because I cut his grain in half. He's on the Purina Ultium competition. He was getting 2 pounds twice a day, and it's just too much calories, too many calories. His weight's good. He's almost a little chunky. And so we cut it so that, because calories equals energy, period, end of sentence. And he's not a hard keeper per se. So we cut his grain down. He's on Equishine. He gets aloe, and he also has, we're using up the end of quiescence, so magnesium. So that's the other thing I thought too, was a mineral deficiency causing some of that pain reaction, just because the muscles can't work properly. But that's not it, because he's literally on a mineral balancer as well as extra magnesium. So she recommended putting him on Purina Enrich, which is a ration balancer, so that he's getting what he needs of vitamins, and then keeping the 1 pound of Ultium competition, and also adding Elevate, which is a vitamin E liquid supplement, but I think that's prescription. And she wanted him on more alfalfa, either pellets, hay cubes, or alfalfa hay. He gets an alfalfa hay mix right now, and I just don't want to make too many changes at once. So we're just going to start with the grain changes. We're not going to worry about the alfalfa. We're not going to worry about the vitamin E because I have to look into that more. And at the end of the day, I kind of cut her off and I said, I understand building the top line and building muscle, but we're going to be building muscle that's hurting. Like, why is he hurting? It shouldn't matter how much or how little muscle he has because he's not in work right now. Why is he hurting when he's not in work? That's what I don't understand. And she just didn't really have a great answer for me. So hopefully I will have a vlog for the next 30 days of what our rehab looks like, walking in hand, long lining, doing pole work, that sort of thing. So I'm excited to have something new to do. I'm so sorry that I didn't get more footage. This is just kind of what happened, and then I'd go right back to work. And yeah, so that's it. That's the update. I'm so sorry for the long video. I'm so sorry for you having to watch my face talk an unbelievable amount. And I'm just really glad we didn't have to have any of the euthanasia conversation today. So we are making progress. I'm so excited, and hopefully you guys stick along for the ride. I will try and get more horse video content so it's not just me talking. So we'll see you guys in the next one.